Okay, guys, welcome back. Okay, so today is the due date for your assignment 1, so please do not forget to submit. It's due today by midnight. So hopefully it was an easy assignment. Basically, the most important or the most complicated part could have been what we reviewed in the previous lecture about the input dialog. So using the input dialog and do some parsing and using some values to do something and display result on the screen. Very similar to what you did in the lab today. So hopefully everything is okay with that. Second, I published an announcement during the weekend just to let you know, but I want to insist today, midterm. Remember, we have 2 midterms and 1 final exam. So my plan is to do the first midterm next Monday. So June 8th, our first midterm. The exam is 1 hour. It's going to be during the lecture time. So there is not going to be a lecture. And basically the lab is going to be a time to answer any last minute question that you could have. Great, okay. So guys, final midterm exam next Monday is going to cover everything from the lecture 1 to whatever we reviewed this week. And I am going to talk about the topics later in the slides. So the exam and the assignment. Remember, your assignment is going to be something about 5% of your final grade. So very, very important that you submit your assignment. The assignment is a lot of points, basically 1 week of labs. So do not forget to submit the assignment today. Good. So regarding topics, the topics that we're going to cover, something that I am assuming you are proficient. I can ask you to ask the user for values. So at this point, my expectation is you know perfectly how to use the input dialog. Moreover, you understand the process for translating those values, the string that you read, to whatever you need. For instance, integer, the instruction, parse int, parse double, and so on. So this program, these lines, and I put this in the full slide. Any question regarding the lines there? Why I use a string here? Why we're using the parse double or the parse int? Why we need those 2 instructions before being able to work with numbers? Any question there? Regarding the question in the chat, practice exams. This week, your labs are kind of practice exams. If you are able to finish this week labs, particularly your lab Tuesday, if you can do the labs without any complication, you are ready for the exam. That is the best advice that I can give you for the exam. The labs are your practice for the exam. Try to solve the labs without the book. Try to solve the lab, at least this week, by yourself. I mean, remember, you can use any material during the lab. You can open your book and basically copy paste source code from the book in order to do the lab. Try to do the labs, you alone, without help, without searching on Google for the source code for something. That could be the best way that you can prepare yourself for the exam. Because remember, the exam is closed book. So if you can solve the labs without the help of searching for source code, you are ready to go for the exam. I am not going to ask you for the meaning of static or public. At this point, public and static is just templates that we need to use because they should be there in order to create a program. We're going to review public and private, what they mean and why they are there in the next midterm. Good. How many labs per week? You are doing 1 lab per day, right? So 4 labs per week. And the goal is to have 25 labs during the course. So the goal is to have 25 labs, each lab 1%. So 25% of your grade is going to be labs. Good? Okay, so you're welcome. So I am assuming no question regarding these previously reviewed topics. Now, moving forward, the next thing that we did in previously reviewed topics is we review what we can put inside of the classes. And basically, right now, inside of the classes, the only thing that you can have is global variables and methods. Then we review what we can put inside of the methods. And when we review what we can put inside of the methods, what we get is this picture that I want to show you. And basically, the picture is you can have inside of your methods local variables, and we have done examples with that. You can have inside your method instructions, and we have played with println and then with the math instructions, and then we review this dialog box to ask for values. So you can have instructions. Then we review that inside of the methods, we can have these expressions. And expressions was basically this combination of the variables that we have with values with operators. Now, thinking about operators, we review 3 types of operators, 3 categories of operators. Those 3 categories, arithmetic, relational, and logic. In the previous week, I mentioned all of these categories, all of these different types of operators, and mostly we did examples using the arithmetic operator. So, let me check again. The only operator that could be a problem for you is the percentage. The only thing that I recommend you to review for the exam is regarding arithmetic, the percentage. Remember, percentage operator is not percentage, is the remainder of a division. Moreover, that is an operator that only works with integers, because if you use floating point numbers, that result is going to move to 0. So review this one for your exam. Be sure that you understand how this works and the result that it provides. We review some examples with this. Now, regarding relational and regarding logic, we're going to play with those this week a lot. So the only thing that I need you is that you remember all of these relational operators. The most important thing to be aware, equal, equal. Equal, equal is not the same that one equal. One equal is arithmetic, is an assignation. When you play with 2 equals, that is relational. All of them give you a result that is going to be true or false. Only those 2 are the options for the result of a relational operator. So I am sure that you know all of this. The only one different from the usual, the 2 equal, and maybe this one, that maybe in math usually is like that. Here we have this representation. Those 2, be sure to memorize and remember them. A common error in the exam, if I ask you to do a program, do not use this. Obviously, do not use this. If you're trying to tell me that you need an operator that is for this, your option in Java in programming is this option. Try to remember that one. Now, also, we review the logic operators. And quickly I describe and, or, and not. We need to review examples, and this week is the week for reviewing examples with these guys and these guys, because the topic that we need to cover. So the only thing right now is you know that this one returns true or false, and these ones also returns true or false. And the arithmetic, well, they work with numbers, and we already reviewed them. So moving forward, the next thing that we can have inside of a method, we're going to talk all this week and the next one about this topic, control structures. And with control structures, we are going to be working very, very close with relational and logic operators. And I am going to tell you why later. So control statements. Inside of a method, you have statements. Statements, they can be, as mentioned before, local variables, instructions, and expressions. Well, one more category. Inside of a method, statements, local variables, you know examples about it, instructions, you can use them, expressions, we reviewed the previous week that one. Now we're going to start talking about control structures, and we have two different categories, or two different types of control structures. Number one, conditional statements. Number two, loop statements. Conditions and loops. Usually, we're going to be talking about them with the short name. We're going to talk about conditions. We're going to talk about loops. Two things that we are going to start doing in our programs. To start, those guys, the only place in which you can put a condition, the only place in which you can put a loop is inside of a method. That is the first thing that I need you to remember. Conditions and loops go inside of a method. Any method, could be your main or could be any other, but they should be inside of a method. Classes, variables, and methods. Everything that we're covering here go inside of some method. Your methods, your paragraphs. Okay, now, what are conditions or what are loops? What we are going to be reviewing here? Well, in short, what we have been doing so far is you create a method, starting with the main, and inside of the method, the instructions that you put inside, you execute the one at the top, and you move down, and you execute line by line your program. Your program basically runs in a line from top to down inside of the method, because obviously you are jumping to execute one method or another. We reviewed that from main, you can call another method, but main is executed in a line. And when you jump to another method, that other method also runs in a line. So basically, the execution of your program inside of a method is one line, top down. Good. What happens if we want to change that? What happens if sometimes we do not want our program to run in this way, in this line, top down? Why? Sometimes maybe we have several lines in a program, but we do not want to execute all the lines. We want to execute somehow the line 1 and 3, but not the 2. Or we want to execute the line 2, but not the line 3. Under some kind of condition, I want to control if one particular line is going to run or not. Think about the following. I have a program, and in my program, I have the instruction and also the instruction I have two prints, and one print is going to tell you you pass the class, and another one is going to tell you you fail. You do not want to show both messages to your user, to the student. You want to show one or the other. So I want this line to run, but if that line runs, then I do not want this to run. Or the opposite. I want this to be printed to the user, but then I do not want the user to saw this one, because it's one or the other. You pass or not. And usually that decision is according with a particular condition, a particular case. For instance, here I can ask if your grade is higher or equal to 69, well, then the program should show you the message you pass. If not, if your grade is lower Then maybe I want the program to do this one, show you that your grade is very low and you fail the class. But I want the program to do one thing, not both. That is a condition, and we're going to review how to put that in a program. But those are the cases in which maybe I want a condition in my program. Now, yes, I am moving forward to the if-else instruction. Exactly. So, going to the conditions. There are 4 options for create a condition with Java. Option number 1 is the instruction if, and we're going to talk about this guy. There is an instruction if. It's a keyword. We need to review how to use the if and what is the result of using the if. Option number 1. Option number 2, sometimes you want to have an instruction if working together with the instruction else, if else block. You can have the if alone. Remember this, you can have the if alone, only the instruction if. We need to review examples. You can have the if working together with the else. And usually we talk about the if else statement, an if and an else. We can use another instruction, call it switch. I put in red the keywords. I put in red the instructions. Those are words that we need to remember in programming because we're going to use those words in the program. And the last one is we can create a condition using this symbol, the question mark. The question mark in programming is one way to create a condition in a program. So if else, switch, and the question mark. And just because this guy is used a symbol, just like the plus, the minus, the multiplication, and so on, this guy is called an operator, the question mark operator. Just because it's only one character. If one character that represents a particular action, the action is the condition. So if else, switch, and the question mark operator. Those are the 4 ways in Java to create a control structure, a conditional control structure. Okay. Today, I want to review this one, and if we have time, maybe this one. Later, we are going to review the others. Now, moving forward, the grammatical rule, the syntaxes. What is the rule? What is the template if I want to put a condition in my program? What is the template if I want to tell the computer that, number 1, check a condition. If that condition is true, then execute some lines. If the condition is false, then please do not execute the lines below. The structure, what you need to put in your program inside of your method is as follows. Number 1, you need the instruction if. You write if. Lowercase, both letters. If you put any of the letters uppercase, that is a different thing. Both letters lowercase is a keyword, just like class, public, static, and so on. If. Then, mandatory, you need to open parentheses and close parentheses. Why? Because inside of the parentheses, you're going to put a relational or logic expression. Why? Because inside of the parentheses, you're going to put something that the final result is true or false. True or false. I am sure that the relational operations and I am sure that the logic operators return true or false. So the only thing that I can put here is something that returns true or false, a relational and or a logical expression that is going to be inside of the parentheses. Next, if whatever condition I put there is true, the computer is going to execute the lines that I put below the if inside of this open and closing curly brackets. That paragraph that is below the instruction if is going to be executed if the condition that is in the parentheses is true. What is going to happen if the condition is false? If the condition is false, the computer is going to check this, condition false, and it's going to jump to the next line after the condition without executing, without reading the instructions inside of this block. Conditional statement. The only thing that is due for you is you can put a condition, and only when the condition is true, your program is going to run a particular group of instructions. According with the condition, the instructions are going to be reviewed and executed or not. This is runtime. Now, to be sure, an example. In this example, all this, I just put the key ideas, but if you want to run this program, all these lines go inside of a method. In particular, you can put all these lines inside of the main method, right? You already know that. And you need a class to put the main method, whatever. Now, in my example, variable integer, variable integer, variable integer. Why this one is everything uppercase? What I am telling the reader when I put max, everything uppercase? It's a constant, good. So when you read my program, the goal is that you, as a reader, know that I have no intention of changing the initial value of max. I mean, my program, my goal as a developer is I am creating this box, max, and I am storing a 5 inside. And just because I use everything uppercase, I am telling you I have no intention to change that value because my intention is to make max a constant, as you described. And as you remember from your math classes, a constant is a variable that do not change the value, right? So just for the reader, sum, delta, the variables, whatever, if you use an example. The important part here, the new part here, is inside of the method, as I have variables, and here there is a system println, a new instruction that I can put in my programs is what I have here in these 3 lines. The new instruction is, as I described to you before, an if statement. If statement. If, lowercase, open parentheses, closing parentheses. Inside, something that returns true or false, that we call the condition. Well, I am using the operator greater than. It's a relational operator. We know that it's going to return true or false. And in this case, my expression is use sum greater than max. If you check the values for the variables, I am asking for 30 greater than 5. And we know that that is going to be true, right? So this condition is going to be true. What happens when the condition is true? That the lines that you have inside of the open and closing curly bracket, we use the open and closing curly bracket to enclose the class. Then we use the open and closing curly brackets to enclose the method. Now we are using the open and closing curly brackets to enclose the instructions that are inside of the if. Hopefully you notice that similarity in all this. Now, inside of my curly brackets, I have this instruction. That instruction is going to be executed only when sum is greater than max. That instruction in this particular example is going to be executed because sum 30 is greater than max 5, this instruction is true. Therefore, this condition is going to be executed by the computer. I am controlling whether or not this instruction, delta equals sum minus max, is executed or not, depending on this condition, using the if statement. So in this case, the instruction is going to be executed. Then when I print delta is, what is going to be the value for delta? What is going to be the result printed by this line? 0 or something else? Okay. Multiple choice. I could tell you 0, 30, 25. You give me the option. Hopefully everyone agree with the C, the 25, and as you told me in the chat. If you are reading this program, if you are understanding why 25 is going to be printed, that is another question that maybe you can find in your exam. By the way, your exam is going to have a lot of examples, a lot of questions related with this if condition, because, well, this is the hardest thing that we're covering before the exam, is maybe the hardest topic. So, see, agree? Now, what happens if I ask you exactly the same question, but, you know, it's like, let me add a 5 there. So, question in your exam, can you tell me what is going to be printed on the screen at the end of running this program? And if I use the previous thing, because basically I can just copy paste the question and show you 2 different versions of the exam, hopefully you agree that in this particular question, just because I added 5 there, now your result is, as you told me, the 0. And the important thing is that why? I mean, why now the result is 0? Well, the reason is because this guy, the if statement, is controlling whether or not this line is going to be executed. And what we do to control if the instruction is executed or not is check this condition. And now that condition is sum 30 greater than max 55. And now this condition is false, right? Just because I changed the value for max. Now this condition is false. And when the condition is false, the program basically runs and the execution continue after the closing curly bracket of the if. The instructions inside of the if are not executed because the condition is false. In this case, the condition is false. These instructions was not executed by the computer. Therefore, when you do the print, well, you never change the value of delta. It's 0, you are going to print 0 because you never did this subtraction. Makes sense? This is like we're moving forward one step up in the difficulty level because everything that we did in the first 2 weeks, besides theoretical background, was running programs top down. This is the first time, and it's going to happen this week and the following, that now what a program do is not just reading top down and everything happens. Now we need to start checking the values and reviewing the variables to figure out what is happening. So hopefully this example, the first one, is clear. If condition, true or false. If true, instruction executed. If false, instruction ignored. Now, if you want to visualize this in a graphical way, what we have is usually our programs go top down, but when you have an if, this new instruction, and when you have this condition, what you are creating is two different paths, two different possibilities in your program. Because condition true, something is going to happen. Maybe a statement is going to be run. Condition false, we're going to ignore that statement. Two paths. That is usually the graphical representation for the if. Two options, true or false. The instruction run or do not run. And obviously that is going to change the result of your full program. Like in the previous example, what do you print? The 0 or the 25? Just because the condition changed. Now, I think you can figure out what happened in the second option. I want to introduce a good friend of if. That good friend is else. And the grammatical rule. In the previous example, I told you that you can use if, that you can open a parenthesis, that you can put here a condition, close the parenthesis, open curly bracket, closing curly bracket. That's it. Now, option number 2, the only new thing that I am showing you is what I am highlighting in red right now. Like, well, you can use the if, that guy, or you can put together the if with an else. It's another instruction. That is the name, else, lowercase, everything. And you put the else just after the closing curly bracket. And that else is going to have its own open curly bracket and closing curly bracket. Did you notice is the red or the red plus the blue? We are not adding another condition. The only thing that we are adding is a new keyword, and 2 curly brackets extra, one open, one closed. And that one is going to help you to create something like this in terms of the picture. If you remember in the previous one, when you do not use the else, when the condition is false, you do nothing. If you use the else, what you are going to be able to do is to have the condition you said before. If the condition is true, you have some statements that you can run. But if the condition is false, you can define a different set of statements to be executed. So you can have your program, and depending on the value of this condition, you can run this group of instructions or this group of instructions. 2 different paths, depending on one simple condition. Yes, you can have several statements here, and you can have several statements here. My example is used with one. I am going to show you examples with more. But the point is, this condition controls the execution of one option or another option. Each option could be one line or more in your program. Now, going to this example, what happened here? I have 2 instructions. One is going to be printing pass. The other is printing fail. And I do not want to print both. I have this variable grade, and grade is equal to the grade of one student. For instance, now, you know what? According with the value of the variable grade, I want to print pass or fail. Can we agree that what we need here is an if statement? Right? Because somehow I want to control whether or not this instruction is going to be printed. Moreover, I want to print one or the other. I want to define two paths for the program. So what about something like that? Number one, I would like you to agree with me that only one of the black instructions is going to be executed. Only one. There is no way that both, there is no way that the program is going to print both. Only one. Why? Because I am enclosing those two instructions with the if that I just learned. Moreover, I am using the if and I am using the else. So only one of the blocks is going to be executed, the if block or the else block, according with whatever happened here. And the only thing that can happen there is I get a final result true or I get a final result false. In this case, I am asking whether or not grade is greater than 69. If grade is greater than 69, or I can be greater or equal, even equal to 69, the condition is true. And if the condition is true, what is going to happen is I am going to have this message on the screen. If this condition is not true, what I am going to happen is this is the message on the screen. Well, question in the chat, be careful. You do not have two conditions for the if, you only have one condition. So for instance, here, if I put grade greater or equal to 69, you are going to have pass if you get 69. But if I change my condition as I have the condition before, and I delete the equal, and my only condition is greater to 69, well, one student that gets 69 as a grade, that student, what is going to happen? It's going to pass or it's going to fail. Well, the computer is going to show pass or fail if the student have, in this case, 69 as a grade. 69 is greater than 69, false. Therefore, this program is going to show fail. Make sense? So the important part here is you have only one condition. Condition true, condition false. Condition true, these lines. Condition false, these lines. It is your responsibility as a programmer to be sure that your condition is the correct one for whatever you want to do. For instance, in this case, if I am the programmer and if I want to follow the rules in the syllabus, well, according with my syllabus, if you get 69, you should pass. So 69 should show pass. Therefore, it's my responsibility in my program to use greater or equal, so the condition is going to be true even with the 69 instead of false like previously. It's my fault that previously the computer is going to show to the user, you fail, even though the user have 69 and 69 should be a pass grade. Make sense? If and else. Now, obviously, you can put more than one line inside of the blocks. I am showing an example with only one, but for instance, In the new example, I have two prints inside of the if. So if your grade is greater or equal to 69, I am going to print pass and I am going to print congrats, 2 lines. But if your grade is lower than 69, I am going to print fail, period. So here I have 1 line, here I have 2. There is no limit. Anything that I want to do when the condition is true or false, go inside of the curly brackets for the if or inside of the curly brackets for the else. Make sense? Okay. So help me. I want to do a program. And in this program, I want to do the following. And this is for your exam. I want to ask the user for a number. Ask the user for a number. Well, let me be more specific. I want to ask the user for a number, an integer number. B, I would like to print on the screen even if the number is even. I want to print on the screen odd if the number is odd. For 5 points in your exam. Well, we haven't reviewed the scan, so help me to solve the problem using something that we review here. Hopefully, you agree with the following ideas for the solution. Number 1, I am asking you to ask the user for a value. If I am asking you to ask the user for a value, well, something that I would like to do for sure is I need a variable string, maybe. I need a name for my variable. And I am going to store in that variable something that I could get from the user using a library. And from that library, maybe I can use a particular method that you already know. And I can put something like that. What is going to happen with that instruction? The computer is going to show me a dialog box. The dialog box is going to have this message and it's going to have a space for the user to write the number. And I am going to trust the user to write a number, no other thing. And when the user press OK, accept, whatever, that number, those characters are going to be stored in this variable. That is step number 1. Step number 2, as you already helped me in the chat, is, well, that is a string. Those are characters. And we talked about this in the previous lecture, and hopefully you have the opportunity to practice during the weekend, and you're practicing with your homework today, and also you practice with the lab today. So you know that this string is something that you cannot use to do anything. You cannot use operators with this string because the only operator that you can use with the string is the plus for concatenation, right? So you need to translate this string to a number. And in particular, in this question, what the question is asking me to do is to have an integer variable, an integer value. And again, hopefully you remember int is a data type, value is the name for the variable, and I want to store a particular value there. And the value that I want to store there is something that I am going to get from a library instruction that I am going to use. I am going to use my library, the class integer, and I am going to use this method parseInt. And the only thing that I want to do is to translate that variable x to an integer value. Good. So in this point, I have this value in an integer variable. And yes, you help me with this. The next thing is, well, you know what? And this is the new part today. Now we can use this if condition because basically what I am asking you to do is to print even or print odd. So it's like option number one, print even. Option number two, one or the other. Basically, the program is asking you, you know what? Print this if the number is even, print that if the number is odd. So two options. Makes sense if I told you that this program is asking you to use the instruction if else. Very, very important. Else do not have another condition. If else. The only condition that we need to figure out is the condition for the if. According with this, if whatever I put here is true, the computer is going to print even. If whatever I put here is false, the computer is going to print odd. Let me be clear, the computer does not understand what is even, what is odd. The only thing that the computer is going to do is to check the condition true or false. So it's your responsibility as developers to create that condition that results in something true or false depending on what you want to print, depending on what you want to create. So in this point is, there is any way that we can create a condition, a relational expression that result in true when a number is even. And someone solved already that question on the chat. I mean, one recommendation that I have here is, well, you have this value, right, is your variable, and you can use this operator percentage with 2, and then you can compare that result equal, remember, with 0. Value percentage 2 equal 0. Can you explain me what is the meaning of that? First, what is going to happen first? The equal or the percentage? Hopefully you remember the first thing that happened always is the arithmetic operators, the percentage is arithmetic, so therefore the first thing that is going to happen here is the percentage needs to be evaluated. So percentage. What is the result of value percentage 2? And this is the first time that I am asking you to explain a program and we are using a variable, but the variable do not have a value because the value can be whatever I am asking the user to put here. So the user can put a 3, a 4, a 5, a 10, 100. I do not know a particular value. However, any value percentage 2 is going to be 0 if that value can be divided by 2, right? And the remainder is 0. So if the user gives you a number 4, because 4 can be divided by 2 and nothing is extra, this is 0, that is going to be true. So it's going to be true with 4. What about 8 or 16 or 1 million or 100 or 200? Any number that can be divided by 2 and nothing is left is going to make this condition true, right? Therefore, if the condition is true, the computer is going to print even. What we have is a condition, a way to explain the computer when a number is even. And therefore, if the user give me 101 or 3 or 55, whatever, because these numbers, when you divide it by 2, something is remaining. I mean, this 3 divided by 2, you're going to have 1 as a mean there, or did 1 or did 1. The condition is going to be false because the percentage is not going to return 0. And for all these numbers, what you're going to have printed on the screen is false. So you have did 1 or you have did 1. 2 paths in your program, depending on one single condition. Makes sense? Now this is interesting, a little bit crazy, but only 2 paths. The next step, the important part, you can put inside of an if another instruction. You can put inside of an if, as we showed before, this print instruction. We put 1 or 2, as many instructions as you want. You can create variables inside of the if or inside of the else. Inside of these curly brackets for the if or for the else, you can put any instruction, any, including another if statement. And another if statement or an if statement inside of an if statement is called nested if statement. So, you know, one inside of the other. Answering the question in the chat, yes, in order to run the example that I did before, I mean, in order to run this one, you need to put all of this inside of a method that do not change. So for instance, you can copy paste all of this inside of a main method. And yes, you need to put that main method inside of a class. So in order to be sure that this is working, like I am sure that you're going to do after we finish the lecture, you need to copy this inside of the main and you need to put a main inside of your class. Just as usual, that haven't changed. Now, in particular for the exam, usually in the exam, there are going to be 2 kinds of questions. If I ask you for the full program, I am asking for the class, the method, and the instruction. But there are going to be some questions in your exam in which I could just ask maybe for something like this. Just ask for the if, because what we want to evaluate is that you remember the if. And we already evaluate in another question that you know that this instruction should be inside of a class, inside of a method. So not all the questions in your exam are going to ask you for write everything. There are going to be questions that ask for that, everything, the class, the method, the instructions, but most of the questions are going to focus in a particular topic. There are going to be questions asking for the printf instruction. And maybe the only thing that we ask and the only answer is use one line with the printf, or use one line with the if, or a small group of lines with an if else, just like in this example. So just read carefully the instruction. If you are not asked for a full program, you can ignore the methods and the classes. Just focus your attention, like here is, ask the user, print something. I am not asking for write the full program or put everything that you need. For the exam, this is fine. For you to test that this is working, you need your class and you need your method. Otherwise, it's not going to compile. Good. So going back here, you can put an if inside of an if. You can put an if inside of an else. And in this point, this instruction becomes very, very interesting. For instance, this one. If I ask you what this program is doing Can you figure out, just guess what is happening? Maybe you want to read this like this. Okay, you have an if instruction. That if instruction have a condition. That condition, if temp is greater than 100, what is going to happen? If I have temp greater than 100, my program is going to print this message. So if you have temp 101, and I ask you, what is going to print this program? Hopefully we agree, oh, this program is going to print, it is hot. Again, questions for your exam. This is the value of the variable. Tell me what is going to be the output. Value 101, you read the program, 101, I only need to check this condition, and this is going to be printed. Something else is going to be printed in this program if the variable temp is 101. Hopefully, like if this condition is true, we are going to do whatever is inside of the curly brackets that correspond to the if, but everything inside of the else is going to be ignored. The program is going to continue here, right? According with the previous explanation, condition true, you do whatever you put inside of the if. In this case, you print something, and then you ignore the else. And even though these else have a lot of things, all those things are going to be ignored just because this condition was true. So think about this kind of question in your exam. It's like, value 101, what is the output of this? If you know if else, how did it work? Oh, true, print this, nothing. You do not need to read this part of the question just because you know that that part is not going to run with that value. Now, in a different scenario, in a different question, what happens if the value for the variable temp is not 101, but 99? I am going to talk about the if else in 1 minute. What happens if the value is 99? If the value is 99, then this condition is false. And if that condition is false, this print here is not going to run. What is going to be executed is whatever I have inside of the else, right? We go and we check the else just because the condition was false. Now, in this point, what happened inside of the else? Inside of the else, what I have is another if condition, a nested if else condition, an if inside of an if. In this case, an if else inside of the else part of another if else. Here I am using white spaces and tabs to help you to read which part corresponds to which part. I mean, I need to be sure that you are reading this else here connected with this if here. And also, this if in red corresponds or is connected with this else here in red. Now, checking with this 99, what is going to happen if temp is 99? Well, we move to the else. I have another if condition. I am running this line. And just like 99 is greater than 80, yes, 99 is greater than 80. what is going to happen? Well, I am going to run this line. If the value for 10 is 99, this program is going to print it is warm. And what is going to happen with this else part here is going to be ignored. The computer is not going to read the else part, just because, again, if you execute the if part, you ignore the else part. So the only thing that this program will do if the value of the variable is 99 is to print is 1. In the same way that this program only print is hot when the value for the variable was 101. Now, you ask me in the chat, what is going to happen if the value of the variable is 80? Well, question for you in your exam is like, we start here with this if here, 80 greater than 100, false. Therefore, you do not print this one. You go to the else. 80 is greater than 80. No, right? They are equal. They are equal, therefore, this condition here is false. If the condition is false, you are not going to print 1. What are you going to do? You are going to move and review what do you have inside of the else. And what do we have inside of the else? Another if instruction, a third level of nested if else. And what is going to happen there? Just as before, review the condition. 10 is 80 right now. 80 greater than 50? Yes. So we're going to run this print, and this is going to be printed for the 80. Are we going to review the else? No, just because the condition was true, we run this line. If the condition is false, then we could run this line. So only one part is reviewed. This is programming, and you can imagine, I am using colors here and colors here to explain you what is happening, but you can think about that example, something like you are reading your program top down, suddenly you have one condition and you have two options. One option is printing code and that's it. And you have another option, and in that other option you found another condition. And for that condition, if the condition is true, you are going to print warm and that's it. But then you have another option, and that other option have another condition, and for that other condition you have the if and the else, two parts, and one part print this and the other part print something else, and then these two are connected, and these two are connected, and at some point your program continue as a line. This could be the graphical representation of what is happening in your program, in which now you have one option, two options, three options, four options. Just putting together groups of two options, putting together group of the else. Path 1 to 2, 1 in 2, 1 in 2. And depending on one value, you can do one of four different options that you have in the program. Only one of the four. This is very, very interesting. Yes. This is the first time that practicing is become mandatory, guys. I really need to ask you to play with this if else, because this is maybe one of the hardest topics that we're going to be reviewing. Today is just the first time, but we're going to start to do crazy things with this. Right now it's just the possibility of having several different paths inside of one single method. But you can imagine this labyrinth inside of one method, and inside of another, and another, and another. And suddenly, your program is a big construction with several different parts, and it's almost impossible to have in your mind all the different paths that you are creating. You need to be more careful to use top-down execution. This become interesting, but also it could become complex. Again, the difference between complex and interesting could be practice. You need to practice this a lot. Well, if-else condition. Separate your program in more than one path of execution. In particular, with the if-else, two paths. However, because you can put an if-else inside of an if-else, then you can create more than one, more than two paths. Something that I would like to ask you, and maybe close today with this crazy question. We agree that you can get an A+ in the class if your final grade is something between 100 and 97, or you can get an A if your final grade is something between lower than 97 until 93, if I remember correctly. So you have this table with numerical values and your grade as a letter. What if I need a program that asks the user for a grade 0 to 100? Do a program, and that program is going to show me a dialog box, and that program is going to ask me, what was your grade in the class? 0 to 100. How many points did you get in the class? Can you print A+, A minus, etc. The letter that I am going to get as a final grade according with the numeric value that I provide as an input, obviously following the rules that we define into the syllable. What do you need? Let me give you some ideas. Some ideas could be like, can you agree with me that you need a string, whatever, and that string is going to use the library, the class, option pane, and this is going to be for asking the user about the user grade. But I am sure that you know that you're going to need to transform that one into an integer, 0 to 100. I am going to make this integer just to make the conditions easy because I do not need to deal with the decimals. So we're going to ask for the user for the grade 0 to 100, but only the integer part. Hopefully you agree with me that you're going to need the integer class with this parse method somehow. And after that, you have in the grade variable your grade, the grade of your user, 0 to 100. And now you need to tell me what to do in order to print A, B, C, D, or the different combinations. The only thing that is sure is you need if condition. Something is going to happen in the if, and else condition. So step number one, system out println A plus, right? And remember, quotation marks. I want to print that as a string, A plus. When I should print A plus, what is the condition for A plus? When a student receives A plus. That one is easy, and yes, I agree with the solution. Like, well, you know what? If your grade is greater, I think it's greater or equal. I need to review the syllabus, but I think greater or equal to 97, include the 97. 97 should be an A plus, right? So if I want to include the 97 as an A plus, something like that could work. Obviously, if the student told me that he or she get 120 or 200 or some crazy number beyond 100, it's going to be A plus. Maybe the instructor apply a curve and the curve move the grades to 120 or whatever, and that is still A plus. So let's keep the A plus. But what happens if you do not have a grade that is greater or equal to 97? Well, so far the only thing that I know is that your grade is going to be lower than 97, right? It's the only thing that I know. What I am going to do here inside of the else, because this else is going to close in some part below, right? I mean, I can put as many lines as I want inside of the else. This block allows me to put whatever. I can just put here one instruction like a print, and in that print tell the user, you know what? I have no idea what is your grade, but you do not get A plus. That could be kind of my message. Is A plus or not A plus? That is not what I want to do. I want to show all the different letters. So what I can do here is similar to my previous example, just following the same path. Well, I can add another if else. And obviously, I am going to close this one here. I mean, the only thing that I want to mention is be careful with the closing. Obviously, the blue one should close after the green one. Here I am using colors. In your program, you do not have colors in your editor. So just remember, keep this one, this else, should close before that the blue one. Just remember parentheses. Remember parentheses inside, open and close first. Then if you have parentheses outside, this closing is the last one. If this one go before, so you always keep this order of what is inside of what. So in this case, for my green if else, what can I do? Well, what you can do is to define here another system out println, and maybe this one could be for printing A. And if you want to print A, the thing that you need to define is this condition, because when that condition is true, I am going to print A. When do you get an A? Grade should be someone tell me here greater than, I am only using integers, so the only thing that I know is that it's not greater, is not equal to 97. So grade what? Should be greater than or equal 93. Greater than 92 or greater or equal to 93, those both options work, right? So if you have a grade that is greater or equal to 93, then I can print A. Remember, I already know because I am in this else, I already know that grade was not greater, not equal to 97, because that is the reason because I am here, right? So I am sure that it's not greater than or equal than 97. So the only thing that I am checking now is if it's greater or equal to 93. And if that condition is true, then this is going to be printed. What if that condition is false? You need to do something here, right? And in this point, what is inside of this square is something that I am not doing. I am asking you to figure out, what do you put inside of that point? Another if else. And maybe for that if else, in the if part, you can put a print, maybe print a minus, and just maybe in the else, you will need another if else with another condition, and you can continue like inserting things inside. And in some point, you can finish your program, and that program is going to work with any number 0 to 100. And for any number 0 to 100, it's going to be able to print the grade as a letter for that particular student. Makes sense? Questions so far? Okay, guys, I am going to stop here. My recommendation, please, before tomorrow lecture, try to practice with this, try to finish this program. And if you have any question, do not hesitate to send us an email to me or to the PAs. But please practice with this program. It's going to be important for tomorrow lecture, but most important, it will be a key for your exam next week. Good? Okay, no questions. See you tomorrow. Thank you.